Hello everybody and welcome. The message of today's video is going to be that it is time to kick out the authoritarian system that is right now ruling over Canada, and quite frankly for the longest time. Canadians live under a pretty oppressed system, and a lot of people do not realize it here in Canada. My family, so you know, are a family of immigrants, like the majority of us are here. The only people who are not immigrants to this country and this continent are the Native Americans that were here before us and are still here, enduring what this country and this continent is turning into. But right now I am talking about Canada. This is the nation that right now I am participating in. I am raising my kids in. I am trying to enjoy my life in. And for all the fellow Canadian citizens, the same thing. I am a person who respects all nationalities, all culture. I'm a person of a mix of nationalities within my blood, which has remnants of the people that are originally from this continent, and as well as the other side being from Europe. And being in this country, growing up in this world, I have seen all points of views. I have seen racist points of views from every culture. Every culture. And I have seen the struggles of every culture that deal with those racist points of views. I understand that there's a lot that we have to correct in our country and in our world. But the way that these politicians are doing it today, the way that these politicians are working with politicians around the world, so that they can say that we have pandemics, we have issues that need to be addressed together, as nations together. That sounds pretty sensible. But what's actually happening is that these authoritarians, these people who want to be royalty again, quite frankly, live like royalty, they want to subject us as a world. And they want to be able to work together to have our world subjected, so that they can keep their power, work together to keep their power by subjecting all of us in every nation. Now, that is a different topic. The main topic right now is, what are we dealing with right now in Canada? What is going on? What is our kids being educated with? Right now, one of my biggest concerns, not just biggest concerns, but biggest problem is what they're teaching our kids today in school about how they should look at themselves, how they should look at their sexuality. The LGBT curriculum, I believe, is abusive, and it should not be taught to any child, especially in the way that it is being taught. It should not be a curriculum. These things should be choices in society. If people want to learn more about these things, they can learn more about them by volunteering to learn about them. But to force the children to learn these things, and in that very school to tell those kids, if your parents disagree with you, there's something wrong with them. If you don't agree with these curriculums and these agendas, you are outsiders. In a time where they're saying that no one is going to be left behind, now I see what they mean by no one is going to be left behind. But then they also talk about no bullying. How is that against bullying when you bully the very people who have different opinions against it, which is the majority of the planet that we have? And in order to change the whole planet, what do you got to do? You got to indoctrinate people, things that they generally do not believe in. I have a culture, I have a faith, I have a people. And I am very, very in tune with that faith and those people. And in fact, my faith comes number one before anything else. My faith is my first citizenship, and everything else is second. But that is within myself. Fundamentally inside, my faith is first. And my faith doesn't tell me to rob people, to hurt people, to mislead people, to make people suffer. So I believe that that law that I follow under my faith is a legitimate one and is a real one. And there's a lot that comes with that. And there's millions of people, if not billions of people, that share in my faith. Now, they say that in Canada, you should not be afraid of religious persecution. That religious persecution is actually persecuted against. That people of beliefs, of any beliefs, as long as they are not terrorist beliefs, as long as you are not inherently wanting to hurt the society around you, are beliefs that should be respected. Especially when they are respectful beliefs that include everybody in a positive light. Ladies and gentlemen, we know what we are going through in this country, and as well as in the world that we are in. And the best way that we're going to be able to survive and have a good life is to finally begin to reject this system and the way it is doing us in. I respect the tax. I respect the ability that we have programs and services and helps and special interventions for people and families that really need it. The ability to give opportunities to people like my family who have come to this country from countries that perhaps are not doing very well. Countries where a person like me could have been drafted to the army. I could have been dead. My father would have lost me way before his time. In a time where not a lot of youth would have a positive future, even if they work towards it. But there's a problem that people do not understand about foreign nations and what they're dealing with right now when it comes to wars, turmoils, and things over resources. Right now, there's large nations with a lot of power that go into nations like Latin America, go into nations in the Muslim world, nations that are really easy to pick on, or at least seen that way, in places like Africa. And when resources are found, diamonds, precious materials, oil, everything that can make another nation rich, or an entity rich. What has happened is that things have been sent to those countries to start wars, to topple leaders, to install dictators, to create buffer zones by meddling with one country so that they can move on to the other one. That is very well known, and no matter how much propaganda we put on the media, that cannot be hidden. That is the truth, that is history, it's been told as history, and it can be common knowledge if the public begins to really look into why a lot of these third world countries are third world and what they can do to help themselves. We are kept from helping ourselves while the most powerful entities on this planet are forming what you would call this new world order. This new world order of what we see it is. It's fear, it's indoctrination, it's manipulation. You got people like Bill Gates, you got all these people that are very wealthy, very influential, publishing and talking about population control in passive and non-passive ways. Someone could say, well, you got to really get your details right with that. And I would say, well, how much details do I got to get right when it comes to people talking about population control and reducing the world's population and taking away people's lands and reforming and sponsoring things like Antifa, BLM, in Canada having our churches burnt, having our culture be attacked, saying that there's just white, misogynist, racist men. And me, who might look like one of those, I'm not even fully white. When I was in this country growing up, I was called really bad names for my culture. My name was insulted. I was basically... So I know what the racism is about, but I didn't experience that just from a white culture. You know, not looking at me as a fellow white person, but as a foreigner. I've also experienced this from all Asian cultures. They're racist against whites and this and that. Those animosities are still there. And today, our political entities, especially here in Canada, are bringing that up when it was starting to correct itself. When society was starting to get along and merge, now they're breaking people up again. And not just with that, but through their ideologies, through their beliefs, through how they look at themselves, their sexuality. They are basically playing devil's advocate. They are playing Monopoly with our emotions, with our livelihoods, with our lives. And then they go on the news. Then they got the media lying and saying that this is how it is, misinformation, that. Well, we have nothing but misinformation and lies from that very platform saying that anybody who questioned them is that. Ladies and gentlemen, we got a gigantic problem in Canada. And it's not going to be removed by just removing Justin Trudeau. We have to question what our entire political system is. We have to question why we only get less than 10% of Canada to use in places that are by marshes, by the water, by flood zones, areas that are very dangerous to live in, and are also safe to live in, but have to be maintained a lot. They're high-risk areas. And that's where we are pushed. And now today, this global warming agenda, we have to protect this, we have to do that, just basically affects Canadians in those little scraps of land that they're allowed to live on. And guess what? They don't even have real land ownership. They have land tenures. And then community planning can come and take away people's land. Someone has an acre of land, they're enjoying it, they're growing food. Then comes the government and says, okay, we're going to remove everything and just leave you with 0.25 of that acre. Even less. You're basically going to have the lot of a condo. You're not going to have that enjoyment anymore. Your taxes are going to go up extreme. And in fact, if you don't like it, move. And then when you move, they're going to come buy your houses or dam or whatever, and then they're going to build condos. It's very systematic, as well as with our drug problem that we have here, that it seems like they're trying to almost legitimize, saying that, hey, users can be users and stuff. Well, where's these drugs coming from? Where is things like heroin? Like, how are they able to become so? Well, everything else in society that is positive is being controlled, is being watched. They seem to know everything you're doing, but they can't stop that. And entire neighborhoods that once had nice, quiet lifestyle, or could have had a robust, really busy lifestyle with enjoyment, are completely eradicated. Entire flocks of kids to drugs, the mental health induced by these things. And then today they have legalized pot. I don't think pot should have ever been illegal to begin with, but it's how they did it in the past, the lives that they ruined as a result, and then now to do it in times like these. Like they're intentionally trying to dumb people down. Make people not be able to question things, not want to question things, especially with everybody's ideologies clashing, their gender, everything, to the point where kids are not even getting along with their parents. Right now with this pandemic, I'm not giving you medical advice, but quite frankly, guys, we're getting all our rights taken away. We are taking every measure, every precaution, and that's the thing. While they're educating your kid about LGBT and this and that, they're also telling these kids, our kids, that everything that the system tells them to do has to be done. You got to medicate yourself like this. You want to participate in society, you got to take medical procedures now. If you want to go to a restaurant or something and enjoy in someone else's business by giving them business, and in their business they give you food, they give you entertainment, it's a symbiotic relationship, not just we're going there because it is a privilege. It's a symbiotic relationship that we pay for, they pay for, and they work for, and we work for. In fact, it's not even a treat anymore going to a restaurant and having to understand that there's a lot of people that can't come in because of their personal choices. We are being divided in every way. It's called divide and conquer. It's the oldest military tactic that a cunning force can use against another one. Ladies and gentlemen, just please look closely at what's happening. And it is time. It is time to speak to your neighbors, your community, and say, no, I reject this. I want something different, and I'm going to vocalize it. And what we should be doing in this country is pushing past this land tenure system and making land ownership almost indefinite, to where a system just can't come and say, well, we're going to do this, we're going to do that in the name of this and that. You should be giving much more choices and much more power in how that happens. Land acquisition should be basically banned. For community planning, If they want a community plan, then they should go into the crown land. Also having right now like activist groups speaking against the government and giving us more land rights. And it looks like those agencies or those activist groups are coming from the very crown, buying back land, putting them in land banks, people's actual ownership, not even ownership, but the ownership of a full tenure, a full freehold tenure, where you got the maximum rights. That's because that's what you own, is a set of rights that can be changed and amended, and that cannot be anymore. Look how many people live in condos, look how many people live in apartments, and we cannot afford. That is intentional. We are being absolutely just robbed, and then whenever we bring these things up, it's conspiracy theory. Guys, the only people it's conspiracy theory to are the people doing it to us. To them, it's a conspiracy theory because they're saying it's a conspiracy theory in defense of what they're doing to us. But everybody at the bottom knows it's not a conspiracy theory. It is a real conspiracy that is ruining our lives, our livelihoods. And in Canada, such a large country, where we only get the scraps of less than 10% of the land. You know, yeah, it's beautiful living by the ocean, but then they're telling you that the ocean's going to come in and flood us all out. And in order to correct that, we're going to have to, restructure our whole building. We're going to have to pay more. We're going to have to pay more for permits. That's what I mean. To the point where, I'm going to tell you right now, in this country, in most areas, only the rich can build a house. Or a person who's going to be basically broken in his back or her back for almost the rest of their lives to pay for that. Unless, yes, they have the money already. From what I hear, there's also taxes on kids inheriting their parents' homes. After people basically are paying a near 40% in tax just to live. And then even more tax if you look at it. Look how we're taxed over and over and over and over everywhere we go. It's not just our income tax. It's not just our property tax. Look at it very closely. They're not taxing the rich. They're taxing the crumb out of all of us and making us poor. To the point where we got such a beautiful country, so many resources, and they're being taken away from us. And then we're having those activist groups saying, oh, people who own a lot of land should give it up to us because we are protecting the old growth forests. We have to come and save our resource. Whose resource? The crown's? Who's the crown? A bunch of royal families is what it seems like, in the pocket of what? The Queen of England? Oh, I'm sorry, that's a conspiracy theory, but yeah, what's on our coin? Supposedly all our land is owned by the Queen. Or at least that's just a system to keep things civil. It's not civil. I am not a subject and neither are you. And no matter what culture you come from, to say, well, we're used to this, this is part of our... No. This is quite frankly obsolete. It never should have been in the first place. But it is definitely obsolete right now. We can do much better. And at the same time, while we do better, we can protect our resource. We can actually protect our forest. Because they're trying to say that we're going to protect these old growth forests in that less than 10% part of Canada that is not crown land. But yet, if you look at the map of Canada, if you start looking at the regions and how the forest has been affected, that's where maybe they should start protecting some stuff. But no, they take all our resource, and yet they have these excuses on how they should take them more, on how it's for our own protection and this and that, global warming and all that stuff. I understand. But the thing is that we are not being allowed to participate in that. All we are doing is being punished because these people want something different. And these people don't stop polluting. They don't stop having their parties. They don't stop having their little things behind closed doors. While we suffer, while we toil, while we are forced to eat genetically modified food that gives us cancer, things that induce diabetes, things that induce blindness. It is unhealthy, the Canada that we live in right now. And it is affecting our cultures. It's making it hard for people who have real understanding want to get along with people who don't have that understanding, people who live in ignorance, people who just repeat everything the media says. That is some of the most hardest things for the fellow Canadians who are actually trying to do things properly, who are actually making sense of things and seeing things with clarity. And that's what's been the mission of this Hollywood-like system. That's what our TVs are basically for, just to distract us. Even the news and how it's said, it's just like, in a way where it dehumanizes us. And a lot of us want to break out from this. Not just break out, but just be able to just go to a different part of the nation and start in a fresh place. Carve our own place in this nation. And we cannot. We have to buy land from other people that has been sold from other people. We have to buy houses from people who were possibly foreclosed because they were crippled. And with this whole pandemic, there was no protection really given to people, only some financial welfares to help people. But that's not good. People need homes. And today we don't got homes. Today the real values of homes are inflated by nearly 70%. No one has that money. So what happens is that a lot of foreign investors do. You'll have places like that are sent from other governments, like agents basically sent with a lot of money just to buy out entire properties so that they can profit off it here. So that our people can go and live in these homes for so much. And yet one day maybe they talk about giving affordable housing, but the conditions, you have to teach your kids like this even further, this and this and that. It is not worth the tax that we pay for the services that we got. Healthcare is not free. We pay for it. We pay for this. And then for the people who receive benefits and stuff, like how can people receive benefits comfortably when this is how crippled everybody else is becoming as a result? We can manage our resources much better. We can manage our resource much better. And we have to begin to do it. But it's going to have to start with rejecting these political systems that we have and moving towards better ones that are not manipulating us, to where the Constitution is properly defending us, to where the Charter of Rights is upgraded to be proper and solid and not bureaucratic with all these different loopholes on, no, it's gotta be solid. You have the right to free speech 100%. Yeah, don't be offensive to anybody. Don't even if it's offensive. But don't be assaulting people. That's understandable. We have to respect that free speech element. We have to respect our business. We have to know where our tax is exactly going and what benefit we get out of it. And if we're going to be paying that much tax, we should be able to live in our home without worrying about foreclosure. In fact, banks should not have the leeway they have over us in this country. They should be there lending money, doing what they do, their bank business, but the way they are in real estate like this, to the point where any change can just hurt us, no matter how much we try. How many of your fathers have not had heart attacks, or mothers or grandparents suffering in these times? People have become casualties already. We cannot live in this manner. Ladies and gentlemen, this video has been on for a while. They're going to censor this, but it doesn't matter. We speak to the people directly. And the way to make these solutions happen is to speak to people directly. Speak to your community. Speak to your family. Start doing it. Say, no, I reject this. I'm going to follow proper laws, and I want to petition for better things. I want better land ownership. I want my taxes to be put in proper things. I don't want this indoctrination onto my kids. And for the people who want that, they should have a different system. But to have that in the kids as public curriculum is completely disrespectful. And especially to about 80% of the people that immigrate to these nations that don't have that in their culture. In fact, it is against their culture to be taught these kind of things in this way, to be indoctrinated in this way. Meaning that people come here to lose their faith, to lose their culture. And that is what the Charter of Rights says you have protection against. Yet the very system that your kid goes to school in is breaking that. Indoctrinating the child to believe that just having sexual fun and diversity is much more important than the rest of your life. Who are you going to be? What are you going to identify as? But what about where you're going to live? How are you going to feed your kids? If one day they say, hey, we're going to be cloning people, you don't need to worry about having kids. You just go down to a facility and they'll just, get you a baby. That's not how it works. It will never work like that. And if it ever does work like that, then we are definitely broken as a world. We are extinct. And the thing is that those are the kind of personalities that are here. And if we're going to protect our human race, our world, all the animals that exist here now, the integrity of Mother Nature, as you call it, we do that. All right. Thank you very much. Speak to your community. Speak to your families. It is time. Just speak. Start getting together. Talking. Oh, you're not allowed because of social distancing. Guys, we see what that's about. We see what that's about while they're installing this new normal. They're lying to us like you wouldn't believe. They censor us. They don't allow us. That's why we have to take matters into our own hands and begin to use our communities directly. All right. Thank you very much. Take care.